After a whirlwind marriage, my wife died unexpectedly. While going through her things, I found a photo album filled with pictures of us, from high school uniforms to our wedding attire. The photos were old and yellowed, the small inscriptions on the back faded. "What a shame, Alistair," one read. "We've missed each other again." But we had only known each other for 2 weeks. And then, I opened my eyes and saw her as she used to be. When I was 29, I married a woman I'd met on a blind date just a week prior. Her name was Aurora, a gentle, fair-skinned woman with a small red mole at the corner of her eye. The strange thing was, the first words she ever said to me were, "We meet again, Alistair." I asked, surprised, "Have we met before?" Aurora lowered her gaze, a soft, gentle smile playing on her lips. "We'll be seeing a lot of each other from now on." I was completely baffled, but just laughed it off. "Well, Miss Aurora, you seem to have a good impression of me." My memory of the rest of our conversation is hazy, just the usual exchange of personal details. A week later, we were married. Another week after that, Aurora was struck by a car that lost control and was killed instantly. Every security camera in the area was malfunctioning. The driver was nowhere to be found, and the car itself had vanished as if into thin air, leaving only the bloodstains on the pavement as proof of what had happened. 7 days later, I received a massive life insurance payout. I was the sole beneficiary. To my horror, I discovered she had taken out several other policies as well, for all different kinds of coverage, as if she knew she was going to die this year. In the span of a single month, I had gone from a blind date to marriage to widower. Aurora had very few possessions when she moved in. She brought only a single 20-inch suitcase that held everything she owned. A few sunflowers drooped in the vase on the nightstand, long past their prime, their golden petals having all fallen away. Next to the vase lay the thick photo album. The cover was our wedding photo taken just a few weeks ago, with Aurora in a pure white gown, her arm linked through mine, her smile radiant. I idly flipped through a few pages, but my eyes suddenly froze. It was filled, page after page, with photos of Aurora and me, a much younger Aurora and an even younger me. The last photo showed us both in high school uniforms, leaning against each other affectionately. I stared at the teenage boy and girl, completely bewildered. I had no memory of any of these pictures, and I was certain I had never met Aurora before our blind date. The album felt like it was burning my hands. I thought back on our short time together and finally realized how strange it had all been. Despite knowing me for less than a month, Aurora knew everything about me, from my social life down to my smallest daily habits. As I stood there, stunned, something slipped from the album and clattered across the floor. I looked down and froze. Before the wedding, I'd ordered a pair of rings, but there had been a mix-up with the delivery. The velvet box contained only the woman's band. Now, I was staring at the matching man's ring. How did it get here? The moment I slipped the ring on my finger, a brilliant white light nearly blinded me. When I opened my eyes again, I was sitting at a late-night barbecue joint. Alistair, bottoms up, the heavy-set guy across from me, drunk, raised his beer can and clinked it against mine. I stared at his face and said tentatively, "Liam?" He looked up, his eyes glazed over. "Yeah, what's up?" I was completely floored. Liam was my best friend, my friend since childhood, and he had died from an illness years ago. I kept my expression neutral. "Nothing. Hey, what's the date today?" Liam's eyes went wide, and he chuckled. "Alistair, man, how much have you had to drink? You're totally wasted." He grinned, reaching out to feel my forehead. "You forgot. It's New Year's Eve." I had traveled back 7 years. As a light rain began to fall, I stared out at the endless drizzle, and a memory struck me. Aurora had once told me about a miserable New Year's Eve. She'd been forced to work late, hadn't even had time for dinner, and on her way home, a downpour started. She slipped and twisted her ankle, and to make things worse, the only street light on her path was broken, and some creep started following her. "So what happened? Did you get away from him and make it home okay?" I had asked her at the time. Aurora had looked down and smiled faintly. "Luckily," she'd said, "someone came and saved me." The rain suddenly became a downpour. Liam was still swaying and drinking, but I was staring out into the storm, a sudden sense of worry washing over me. Following my memory, I found the alley where Aurora used to live. The streetlight was out, plunging the lane into complete darkness from one end to the other, just as she had described. My heart sank. 5 minutes later, I saw her. It was Aurora, soaked to the bone, water dripping from the hem of her clothes. This was the Aurora of 7 years ago, 22 years old, a recent college graduate just starting her career. She wore a professional suit, but you could still see the youthfulness in her face. She was running through the rain when suddenly her foot slipped, and she fell hard onto the wet pavement. Seconds later, a man dressed in black caught up to her, grabbing her wrist without a word and trying to drag her deeper into the darkness of the alley. My heart clenched. Didn't Aurora say someone was supposed to save her? Where was he? I acted before I could think. The next thing I knew, my fist had connected with the man's eye socket. "Who the hell are you?" He tilted his head, spat a mouthful of bloody saliva, and slurred, "You bastard. Ruining my fun." I grabbed a handful of his greasy hair and drove another punch into the bridge of his nose. "Watch your mouth." The man sobered up a little. He scrambled to his feet, pointing a trembling finger at me. "Just who are you?" I helped Aurora to her feet without looking up. "Just a concerned citizen." I gently pressed her swollen ankle. "Where do you live? Can you walk?" She stared at me, her voice hoarse. "You don't recognize me? Logically, we shouldn't have met yet." So I shook my head. "Do you need me to walk you home? Here's my driver's license. If you don't trust me, you can call the police." "That's not necessary." Aurora staggered to her feet, steadying herself on my arm. "I trust you," she said. Probably from the rain and the shock, Aurora developed a high fever as soon as we got back to her apartment. Should I call your parents or a friend to come look after you?" The moment the words left my mouth, I regretted them. I suddenly remembered what she told me. Her mother had died young. Her father was an abusive alcoholic, and her stepmother treated her cruelly. She didn't have any real friends. She was always alone. As expected, Aurora refused. "It's okay. Don't worry about it." After taking some fever medicine, Aurora was drowsy. I turned off the light, ready to leave. Her lips were pale, but she managed a weak smile. "I still need to thank you. If you hadn't been there, I don't know what would have happened." She blinked and suddenly held out her hand. "It's nice to officially meet you. I'm Aurora." I waved it off. "Don't mention it, Aurora. It was nothing." I had intended to leave for good, but when I got downstairs, I remembered she'd worked late and hadn't eaten, and it was New Year's Eve. The rain had stopped, and the only sound was the dripping of water from the eaves, making the night feel even colder and more silent. I went back with some soup and sides I'd picked up from a nearby diner and rang her doorbell. No answer. I waited a moment and rang it again. This time, a quick voice came from inside. "Coming, coming." Aurora ran to the door barefoot, looking like she'd just woken up. Through the security screen, her eyes widened and a silly grin spread across her face. "It's you." Before I could reply, she'd unlatched the door. "Why are you back? Did you leave something behind?" Her eyes fell to the takeout bag in my hand, and she paused. I unpacked the containers and expertly snapped a pair of disposable chopsticks for her. "I ordered too much and remembered you hadn't eaten, so I figured we could share some." A loud, mindless dating show was on TV. Aurora held up her soup bowl and gently tapped it against my beer can. "Alistair." Her eyes crinkled at the corners. "Happy New Year." I tapped my can against her bowl and smiled back. "Happy New Year, Aurora." We talked about everything that night, staying up late even though she was sick. Aurora was buzzing with energy. It wasn't until the clock in the living room struck 3, after her countless yawns, that her head finally drooped and she fell fast asleep. I carried her to her bedroom and tucked her in, but I ended up on her couch, wide awake. As I lay there, I finally put my finger on what was bothering me. Aurora had an almost unnatural level of trust in me, a complete stranger who had just appeared in her life. I thought about that photo album, unable to comprehend where those pictures came from. Or maybe we really had known each other, and I was the one who couldn't remember. When I woke up the next morning, Aurora had already left for work to put in more overtime, even though she hadn't gotten to sleep until 3. Incredible stamina, I thought to myself. A note on the coffee table read, "Breakfast is in the pot on the stove." Chewing on a disposable toothbrush, I had to marvel at how, despite having just met, we had fallen into a routine that felt like we'd been married for years. As the new hire, Aurora was constantly being taken advantage of by her boss. Her workday was dragged out later and later, and she often didn't get home until almost 9 o'clock. Worried that the creep from the other night might bother her again, I found him before she got off work and roughed him up. "Don't let me see you around here again," I warned him, "or I'll beat you every single time." After the threat, I gave his head a shove. You hear me? After taking care of the guy, I waited for Aurora, but she never showed up. I saw her work ID on the coffee table, so I grabbed a cab to her office building. Just as I got out, I saw some guy grabbing Aurora's sleeve, refusing to let go. Aurora was trying to push him away, her face flushed. Hey you, what do you think you're doing? I stepped between them, shielding Aurora behind me. She told you not to touch her. Are you deaf? The guy just laughed. Come on, man, you know how it is. She's just playing hard to get. Aurora peeked out from behind me, emboldened. Are you crazy? I told you I have a boyfriend. The man scoffed. Yeah, right. You've been saying you have a boyfriend since day one. But where is he? I haven't seen so much as a shadow. Aurora took a deep breath, then slapped me firmly on the shoulder. If you're not going to use your eyes, you should donate them to someone who needs them. My boyfriend is standing right in front of you. Can't you see him? As soon as the guy left, Aurora visibly relaxed. I'm so sorry about that. Thank you for getting me out of it. She winked at me. How about I make you a nice dinner to say thanks? Deal. I'd never told her my preferences, but Aurora seemed to know all my favorite foods, even my weird aversion to cilantro. I shamelessly accepted her dinner invitations for the next couple of weeks. In our free time, we'd binge-watch shows, go for walks, and just talk for hours. Aurora took several pictures of us together, ostensibly to keep up the ruse for her coworkers. Life flowed by peacefully until one day, while washing my jacket, she found the wedding ring in the pocket. Alistair, she held up the ring, looking strangely excited. So you're married? I never asked, how old are you? Having traveled back 7 years, my reflection was that of a much younger man. But meeting Aurora's expectant gaze, I inexplicably told her the truth. I'm 29. My wife, she died in a car accident. She froze for a second, then quickly looked down. Oh, I'm so sorry. Aurora was quiet for a long time after that. Just before bed that night, she suddenly asked, Do you miss your wife very much? I looked at Aurora for a long moment, then took a quiet breath. Of course. My biggest regret is that I didn't get to know her sooner. Aurora lowered her head. I feel so anxious, she murmured. Like I'm going to wake up one day and you'll be gone. I let out a small, sad laugh. Why would you think that? Didn't we make plans to go fishing tomorrow? She suddenly buried her face in her blankets, her voice muffled. You should go. I'm going to sleep now. Good night, Alistair. I switched off her light and whispered back, Good night. I woke up to find I had time traveled again. I stared down at the high school uniform I was wearing, dazed. Alistair, you're awake. Those punks from the sophomore class came by again, trying to start something. They said to meet them in the woods behind the school after the last bell. I stared at the digital clock on the classroom wall, lost in thought. This was my freshman year of high school, when I was 15. I seemed to be traveling backward through time in 7-year jumps. Wait a minute. I fumbled in my pocket. The ring. Where was the ring? I frowned, thinking hard. It must still be sitting by the sink in Aurora's apartment. My desk mate poked me with his pen. Alistair, say something. Are we going to go or not? I grabbed my backpack and bolted from the room. Aurora and I went to the same high school, but were in different classes. There was a question I'd been dying to ask her. I waited outside her classroom for what felt like forever until I finally spotted the 15-year-old Aurora, her hair in a high ponytail, her face still so young. Aurora, I called out suddenly. Long time no see. Aurora turned, a blank look on her face, but when she recognized me, her eyes lit up. It's you. Her smile was warm. Long time no see, Alistair. So Aurora did know me. No wonder the 22-year-old version had been so trusting. No wonder the 29-year-old version had married me after only a few days. She had known me all along. My heart clenched. If the 15-year-old Aurora already knew me, it meant this backward journey wasn't over. At this rate, I would travel back another 7 years and meet an 8-year-old Aurora. I was continuously meeting younger versions of her, while she had always known who I would become. My heart sank. The past, present, and future were all happening at once. I was personally creating the past I shared with Aurora, the very past that my 29-year-old self had discovered. I was living out our history, and in some cosmic way, everything was already set in stone. The realization was so overwhelming, so absurd, that I came down with a high fever. I was only sick for a few days before my homeroom teacher heard my fever was gone and dragged me back to class. I was miserable. Sir, I'm a time traveler. I already got a 1550 on my SATs. I don't need to be in this class. He gave a cold laugh. What a coincidence. I specialize in disciplining time-traveling students who try to skip my class. He grabbed me by the collar and hauled me to my feet. I don't care if you got a perfect score, you're not skipping. As soon as I sat down, my desk mate leaned over conspiratorially. Hey, Alistair, you know that girl from the other class, the one from Mr. Williams' homeroom? She comes by looking for you every day. I glanced over. What does she want? He grinned. Nothing. She just sees you're not here and leaves. The next time Aurora appeared at the classroom window, peeking in, I snuck up and tapped her on the shoulder. Looking for someone? Go away, she said impatiently, dodging to the side so her face was nearly pressed against the glass. I chuckled. What's so interesting? Maybe I can help. I could see her body tense up. She whipped around to face me, a look of embarrassed annoyance on her face. Alistair, you scared me. She bit her lip, then asked quietly, I heard you were sick. Are you feeling better? I nodded. That's good, she said, relieved. Aurora let out a sigh of relief, shoved a small paper bag into my hands, and then turned and ran. I looked inside and couldn't help but laugh. It was filled with homemade cookies, Rice Krispies pie treats, and fudge. For some reason, she had also tucked in a box of DeWalt. I suddenly realized how vibrant and alive this version of Aurora was. My wife was so adorable. The thought startled even me. The Aurora I married had always been so quiet, her eyes gentle but filled with a deep sadness, as if hiding a world of secrets. I never would have associated her with words like vibrant or cute. But seeing her like this, I suddenly remembered something she told me. Her teenage years had been lonely. She was bullied, never made many friends, and was always envious of others. Now that I was back here by some twist of fate, maybe I could help her change that. Aurora hadn't told me the details about the bullying, so to find out what was really going on, I started following her home from a distance. One day, a group of tough-looking girls cornered her. They were smoking, laughing as they surrounded her and demanded protection money. Aurora's face went pale, but she stood her ground and refused. The leader of the group glared and reached out to grab Aurora's hair. I couldn't stand by and watch. I shot forward and caught her wrist in midair. The hell? The girl snapped, embarrassed and angry. Who are you? I'm gonna get my boyfriend Vince to mess you up. I gave a cold laugh and dropped Liam's name. Liam from Lincoln High. You heard of him. Back in the day, Liam cared more about fighting, racing, and girls than he ever did about school, but I never realized his reputation was this effective. The lead girl's expression shifted. She suddenly shoved a cigarette into my hand. Hey man, she said, forcing a smile. How about you be my protector instead? You can look out for me. I took the cigarette, the corner of my eye twitching. The next second, I saw Aurora, her face completely blank, turn and walk away. Hey Aurora. I shot a warning look at the girls. Watch yourselves. Then I ran after her. What's wrong? I asked carefully, not understanding why she was suddenly so upset. Aurora just stared at the ground, silent. I racked my brain, and finally it hit me. Is it because I took the cigarette from her? Is that it? Alistair. Aurora looked up at me, her eyes red-rimmed. If you're going to be her protector, then you can give me back my cookies and Rice Krispies pie treats and fudge. She stared at the cigarette in my hand, her voice cracking with hurt. I'm taking back my crush on you. So she was jealous. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I tossed the cigarette into a nearby trash can, right in front of her. I'm sorry. After Aurora found out I'd been following her, she wasn't mad. After our evening study hall, she started walking home with me. We walked side by side under the dim yellow street lights, kicking through fallen leaves. It was deep into autumn, and stalls selling roasted sweet potatoes had popped up on the street corners. We'd buy one at the start of her block and share it, finishing it just as we reached the end of the lane. Then, at the next intersection, we'd say goodbye, she heading east and I west. The next morning, without a word, we'd meet at the same spot to walk to school together. Aurora finally had a friend in her life, and the days passed like that, one after another. One day, I just dropped my backpack when my desk mate sidled up to me. So, Alistair, are you and Aurora a thing now? My hand rummaging through my bag for homework paused. I thought for a second, then shook my head. Not yet. I haven't asked her out. My desk mate gave me a knowing look and a wink. You can try to fool me, man, but don't fool yourself. But hey, Alistair, you better watch out. I looked up, confused. He glanced around before whispering. You know the school arts festival is next month, right? Some guy from her class is planning to sing a duet with her. How do you know that? He pointed to the teacher's desk. The sign-up sheet is right there. I picked up the sheet. The first line in neat, masculine handwriting read, Duet, Jasper and Aurora, freshman homeroom. My desk mate poked me cautiously. Hey, what's up? I didn't say anything, but a dark fire ignited inside me. Who was this guy trying to move in on Aurora? I couldn't wait for the end of the day. The second the bell rang for the break, I was at the door of her classroom. Aurora was leaning over, explaining a problem to her desk mate. The guy, Jasper, was leaning in way too close. His eyes weren't on the notebook, they were practically on Aurora's face. I caught the snake in the act. Suppressing my anger, I walked over to his desk just in time to hear him whine. Aurora, can you explain it one more time? I still don't get it. Aurora looked puzzled. You still don't get it? This is the third time I've explained it. The jerk then flopped onto his desk, batting his eyes at her. Aurora, you're the best desk mate ever. I know I'm kind of slow. Everyone always thinks I'm dumb. I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed him by the collar and hauled him to his feet. Jasper looked terrified. What are you doing? I sneered. Jasper, right? You are pretty dumb. Aurora couldn't help it. She snorted with laughter. Jasper's face flushed with shame and anger. Who do you think you are? What business is it of yours? Why are you so nosy? Is Aurora your girlfriend? A fire raged in my chest. She's my wife, you idiot. I pushed down my anger and mimicked his whiny tone. Yeah, what business is it of mine? Then I turned to Aurora, my voice high and sing-song. And Aurora, my dear, I hope your desk mate won't be mad that I'm talking to him like this. I made sure to emphasize the word desk mate. Aurora was trying so hard not to laugh, waving her hands at me. No, he's not. Ha 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 ha. She was laughing so hard she doubled over her desk, shaking. Jasper shot me a glare, then ran off, grinding his teeth. I tapped on Aurora's desk. She jumped, then said irritably, What? You're really going to sing a duet with that moron? Aurora looked at me blankly. No. Who told you that? I mumbled, never mind. I came to ask if you wanted to sing with me at the arts festival instead. Aurora thought for a moment, then picked a song called Little. She frowned, scratched her name out next to Jasper's on the sign-up sheet, and muttered, Let him sing by himself then. She neatly wrote, Little, Aurora and Alistair. I glanced at the sheet, feeling a surge of triumph, and blurted out, Little, like childhood sweethearts? She looked up, confused. Aren't we? My heart sank. I was just joking, I said quickly. Lately, whenever Aurora brought up things from before, I just laughed it off, afraid she'd notice something was wrong. Eventually, since I never gave her a real answer, she stopped asking. The truth was, I wanted to know about that past more than anyone. Her past was my future, and my past was a complete mystery to her. I pushed the thought away and changed the subject. How about I play guitar for you? I can be your accompaniment. It worked. Aurora's attention shifted, her eyes lighting up. Yes, that would be great. In the days that followed, Aurora and I would skip evening study hall to practice in the music room. She loved the song, singing the lyrics over and over. There's a person living in my heart now. The little versions of us back then. We tried to talk of love like actors in a play, but you, with your missing tooth, couldn't say the words right. As I strummed the guitar, a wave of sadness washed over me. Aurora, do you even know? We missed our chance in the end? Alistair, did your string just break? Aurora had moved closer at some point and was reaching for the string that had just snapped. I looked at her eyelashes, so close to me, and my heart skipped a beat. Alistair. When I didn't answer, she turned her head, and her small, upturned nose brushed against my lips. Oh, sorry. What's wrong, Alistair? Aurora jumped back, staring at me, stunned. I pushed down the sudden wave of emotion and shook my head. I just zoned out for a second. Sorry. On the day of the arts festival, the forecast called for snow that night, the first snow of the year in Portland. As night fell, with an hour left before our performance, I was in the music room, tuning my guitar. Aurora sat next to me, her hands tucked in her pockets, just watching. Alistair. She leaned in conspiratorially, her voice low. Have you ever heard the old saying? What's that? I played along, lowering my own voice. No, tell me. Aurora whispered in my ear. They say that couples who confess their love on the first snow of the year will stay together forever. She finished and blinked, waiting for my reaction. My heart ached, a sharp, piercing pain. I clenched my jaw but forced a smile. I'll tell you a secret, too. Want to hear it? Aurora's interest was instantly piqued. What is it? I said quietly. I'm from your future. Aurora rested her chin in her hand, thinking for a long moment. Then her expression turned serious, and she held up one finger. One question. I held back a smile. Ask away. She whispered. In the future, do we get married? My breath caught. Meeting her shining eyes, I forced a casual tone. Of course. Aurora suddenly covered her face, laughing. Tonight, when we're on stage, I have something important to tell you. You have to be ready, and you're not allowed to back out. I looked at her smiling eyes, and my heart melted a little. Okay. Aurora went off to get ready. The moment the music room door closed, a sharp pain shot through my chest. The guitar slipped from my grasp and clattered to the floor. I looked down in shock. My hands, starting from the fingertips, were becoming transparent. I was disappearing. When a cheerful Aurora came back to find me, the music room was empty except for the guitar lying on the floor. She looked around, bewildered. Alistair. There was no answer. Aurora stood frozen for a long moment, then stumbled out of the room. Mr. Williams, have you seen Alistair? Excuse me, have you seen him? When Aurora finally took the stage alone, her eyes were still scanning the crowd for me. As the instrumental track began to play, delicate snowflakes started to fall from the sky. When she got to the line, I'm searching for the one from that story. You're the part one can't live without. She suddenly looked up, her voice catching for a moment. A single crystalline drop rolled down her cheek, and it was impossible to tell if it was a snowflake or a tear. Aurora's words from our first meeting echoed in my mind, a fateful prophecy. I once liked someone very much. We prepared a duet for the school arts festival. I was planning to confess to him right after we sang. I remembered asking her, my curiosity piqued. And then what happened? Aurora had lowered her eyes, a sad little smile on her face. And then I waited all night for him. He never showed up. I floated in the air above, reaching out instinctively to wipe the tear from her cheek, but the snowflakes passed right through my ghostly hand. The first snow had come, covering our heads in white, but it wasn't the white of old age. I finally understood the inscription on the back of the photograph. What a shame, Alistair. We've missed each other again. A tragic twist of fate. We missed our chance. What a shame, Aurora. A flash of white light, and another 7 years fell away. I was standing in the middle of a road, staring in a daze at my own short arms and legs. Hey, watch out. A small figure suddenly tackled me, knocking me to the ground. We rolled twice, just as a speeding car swerved past, its tires screeching as it narrowly missed my back. With a loud bang, the car crashed into a tree. The sound of shattering glass was deafening. A small child in my arms flinched and trembled. I stared at her face and gasped her name. Aurora? 80-year-old Aurora looked up, her hair a mess. Mister, do you know me? A little yellow dog ran across the street and started nuzzling her hand. Aurora picked up the puppy, her eyes wary. Mister, I was yelling at you from over there. You have to be careful crossing the street. You can't just stand in the middle of the road like that. You almost got hit by that car. I hung my head and let the little girl lecture me. Oh, Aurora suddenly remembered something and ran, stumbling, towards the wrecked car. Mister, we have to call for help. The car was mangled, the driver clearly dead. The ground was littered with broken glass and twisted metal. I stared at the large, fresh blood stain on the hood of the car and froze. I wasn't hurt. Aurora wasn't hurt. So where did the blood come from? Before I could process it, the police arrived and started putting up yellow tape. You wretched girl. I told you not to run off. A woman emerged from the crowd, grabbed Aurora's ear, and gave it a vicious twist. Aurora burst into tears. Auntie, I'm sorry. The little yellow dog, which had been dropped, started biting my pant leg, trying to pull me toward Aurora. You're still crying? You have the nerve to cry. I tell you not to run off. One of these days you'll get yourself killed out here. I stepped in front of Aurora, trying to reason with the woman, but she just turned her anger on the puppy. And this mutt, always running off, making this girl wild. The frightened puppy tucked its tail and ran off. Sonny, Sonny. Aurora tried to run after him, but the woman grabbed her arm with a sneer. Pardon the interruption, folks. I'll take her home, and discipline her properly. Aurora looked at me, her eyes brimming with tears that spilled over and streamed down her face. My heart ached. I gave her a small nod, then got up and went after the dog. I knew that dog, Sunny, was the last thing Aurora's mother had left her. When I returned with Sunny in my arms, Aurora was being punished, forced to stand by her front door as people in the alley walked by, many of them pointing and staring. Her hands were behind her back, and her head was bowed low. I could see a single, perfect tear clinging to her chin. Aurora. I called her name softly, but she didn't move. I scratched Sunny's chin, and he let out a small whimper. Aurora's head shot up. Sunny. Sunny scrambled from my arms into hers. She hugged him, stroking his head as tears fell like a broken string of pearls. Sunny, I thought I'd lost you forever. I crouched beside her and handed her a tissue. She cried for a long time until eventually her head grew heavy on my shoulder, and I realized she had cried herself to sleep. I tucked her into her bed, and as I was about to leave, I heard her whisper, "Thank you, mister." In the days that followed, I spent all my free time with Aurora. We became a team. When she'd sneak oranges from the tree outside the local bar, Sunny and I would be the lookouts. The three of us were once chased for 3 blocks by the owner's wife wielding a broom. The city of Portland became our playground. We explored every corner, watched countless sunsets, and played until dark. Slowly, the smiles on Aurora's face became more frequent. I thought life could just go on like this, that all the past events, all the tragedy, could be forgotten. In this timeline, I could truly be her childhood friend. I could grow up with her. We could fall in love naturally, the way we were supposed to. But fate had other plans. One day, a group of police officers knocked on Aurora's door, only to be shooed away by her stepmother. I arrived just in time to see the woman, hands on her hips, yelling at them. "Are you people crazy? Trying to tell me my Aurora is dead? She's perfectly fine, alive and kicking. You're the one who's crazy." The police had identified the victim from the car crash. The DNA from the blood on the hood was a match for Aurora, but Aurora was standing right there, completely unharmed, without a single scratch. The officers stared at the living, breathing Aurora in disbelief. "It's impossible," one of them said. "With that amount of blood loss at the scene, the victim couldn't have survived. How could that be?" In a flash, it all came together. I remembered the other car crash, the one that killed the 29-year-old Aurora, the car that appeared and vanished like a ghost. My breath caught in my throat. It hit me like a bolt of lightning. The victim, it really was Aurora. "That is correct." A serene voice spoke from behind me. I turned to see a Buddhist monk, his palms pressed together. "The 29-year-old Aurora died in the car crash. She saved you from when you were 8 years old. With this, the circle of cause and effect is complete. Time is not a line," he explained, "but a circle. The past, present, and future all exist at once, each event causing the other." A brilliant white light began to envelop me. Where am I going now? To when Aurora was a baby? The monk shook his head. "The circle is closed. It is time for you to return." I stared in disbelief. "Return where?" "To your 29th year." I became frantic. "Go back? How can you ask me to go back after everything I've been through? How can I go back to a long life without her? A life of just missing each other, of never being together? I can't. I won't live that life again." Sunny whimpered, tugging at my pant leg as if to pull me back from the encroaching white light. I stared at the monk, my voice hoarse as I begged him. "I need to see her one more time. You said the past, present, and future all exist at once. The place I want to go is just one small fragment of time. You must have a way, please." The monk lowered his gaze. "The circle closes here. What you speak of is a place outside the circle, a branch on the tree of time, outside the loop of causality. Such branches are erased. To go there means your own end." In the distance, I could see the stepmother yelling at Aurora again. The crowd was gathering, some trying to intervene, others just watching. I was losing sight of her small form in the throng of people. "I don't care," I said. "I have to see her. A version of Aurora who isn't trapped by this fate. A Aurora who is simply and purely happy." The monk seemed to let out a soft sigh. "You will have only one day," I whispered, "as long as I can see her one more time." The 80-year-old me continued to travel. The wind howled in my ears until I came to a stop at the end of the white light. This was the year Aurora was 1 year old. Her mother was pushing a stroller slowly out the door, a little yellow dog trotting happily alongside, wagging its tail. At this moment, Aurora was the happiest baby in the world. I followed them all day. Aurora's mother took her and Sunny to the grocery store and then to the park. At dusk, she spread out a picnic blanket on the grass and lifted baby Aurora out of her stroller. I sat on a nearby bench, watching them, not wanting to even blink and miss a second. 1-year-old Aurora, clutching a stuffed rabbit with long ears, toddled unsteadily over to me. "Hi," she babbled. She tilted her head, looking up at me, and then pointed a chubby finger at my face. "CWI," she said, her voice milky and soft. The tears were streaming down my face. "Aurora," my voice was shaking. I reached out to hug her, but her mother, who had hurried over, gently stopped me. Her mother gave me a wary look before picking Aurora up. "Come on, sweetie, let's go home with Mommy." Aurora obediently wrapped her little arms around her mother's neck, happily repeating, "Home, home." The setting sun cast their shadows long across the grass. In the quiet twilight, Aurora suddenly turned back, waved her chubby little hand at me, and chirped, "Bye-bye. See you tomorrow." I forced my lips into a smile and waved back at her. "See you tomorrow, Aurora. See you tomorrow."